Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back. Today we're sharing a story about a guy who went to Pattaya, fell in love on his first day there, and ultimately married the girl. Let's jump in and see where this leads.
After listening to many stories on your channel and other channels about Thai bar girls, I often hear the same things repeated over and over. They are manipulative, only out for money, will financially drain you, blah blah blah. This is obviously true for many of the girls involved in the nightlife of Thailand, but people should not paint every girl with the same brush. That's why I would like to share my story of how I married a bar girl from Thailand and how my life has changed for the better since I met my beautiful wife. Hopefully, it will give your listeners some advice along the way and encourage them to take the chance if they feel it may work out. My story starts way back in 1998 when I met and married a 20-year-old bar girl named Mai. I was currently on the rebound from a messy divorce from my ex-wife of 7 years. We had gotten married at a pretty young age of 23, and I had just turned 30 when the divorce was finalized. To cut a long story short, I was pretty messed up after the divorce, and a friend of mine who had been to Thailand a few times suggested that I visit Pattaya. So that's what I did. Back then, there weren't many ways to research a place. All I knew about Pattaya was what people who had been there already told me. As I mentioned, I was only 30 years old, so still fairly young compared to most of the men that go there to fix their shattered egos. My plan was to go there, forget about my problems for a couple of weeks, have fun, and then return to fix my life. I had no plans on falling in love, starting a relationship, or even becoming more than a customer with any of these girls. It was wintertime in my country, so once I landed in Thailand and made my way to Pattaya, I went down to the beach to get the winter cold out of my lungs and get a tan. It was pretty crazy that the day before, I was wearing a jacket and a hat. Now, I'm wearing just shorts and sandals. I wasn't used to this type of heat or seeing beautiful girls everywhere I looked, smiling and waving at me. My ego was already starting to feel slightly on the mend. So, I'm laying there on the beach and in the process of putting sun cream on, as my pale skin would fry otherwise. A beautiful young girl came and sat next to me, asking in cute English if I would like her to put the cream on my back. This was crazy for me. No way in my country would a random young girl ever say that to a guy on the beach. She must have spotted me alone and somewhat struggling to apply the cream everywhere. After she asked, the only answer I could reply was a big fat yes. I wouldn't dare turn down that request from this beauty. It's hard to describe this girl. We all have the ultimate fantasy girl that we would like to be with, and I think she was that for me, maybe even better than my fantasy girl. She introduced herself to me as Mai and also asked me to rub sun cream on her body. She had such a perfect body, not too skinny but not too fat either, a perfect chest, and long jet black hair. Don't get me wrong, I had heard about the games here, and I knew this wasn't a random girl coming over to me because she was attracted to me. I knew at some point there would be a money transaction, but I still went with the flow as I was enjoying my time with her. She actually stayed with me for a few hours. We chatted and had a couple of coconut drinks. It was a great start to my holiday. However, jet lag had kicked in, and I really needed to go back to my hotel and get some sleep, or I wasn't going to make it off the beach. I would have hated to have fallen asleep while talking to this beauty. I told her that, and she asked if I wanted her to come to my room. I replied with a, "Sure, come up with me if you like, though I don't have much energy." I said that because I did not want her to think we could go back to the room and I'd have the ability to perform. But she still agreed to come back. We packed up all of our stuff and started making our way back to the hotel. At this point, I was a little bit anxious as it was my first time, and she randomly appeared from nowhere. I had just met this perfect-looking girl, and now she was making her way back to my hotel. What were her intentions? We got to my room and showered. I was super jet-lagged, but I had an hour's worth of bedroom fun left in me, so we did that until I finally passed out from tiredness. When I finally woke up, it was around 9 to 10 p.m. I turned and saw that she wasn't lying in bed. I had a short panic attack until I saw her sitting there in her bathrobe on the sofa. watching some Thai programs. My God, she looked beautiful sitting there, smiling at the show she was watching. I knew at that point I might be in trouble. Fancy coming to Pattaya and falling for a girl the first day you get there. Of course, I was not in love with the girl I had just met, but I was very smitten by her, and I knew I would have a hard time letting her go. I finally got out of bed after staring at her beauty for a few moments, took a shower to refresh, and once I came out, she pushed me onto the bed, and we had fun again. I could already tell that this girl was pretty wild, but I was loving every minute of it. After that, we lay in each other's arms for a bit, with her head rested on my stomach. It was rumbling so hard because I hadn't eaten in a while. She laughed and said, "We eat now, you hungry belly." She suggested that as I am new here, I should try some of the local spicy Thai dishes. So, we got sorted and headed out in the super hot and sticky weather that I clearly wasn't used to. Mai took me to a small restaurant not too far from the beach. Nothing fancy, but it had a lot of customers both inside and outside. This was my first experience with real Thai food, and it was such a change from the crap I would be eating at home. She ordered lots of different dishes for me to try, and with how hungry I was, it went down a treat, although some of it was very spicy. Mai was also not a typical female when it came to eating food. She was like me, scoffing it down. Not sure why I liked that, but I did. I was on the soft drinks, as was she. It was a great night. We talked and picked at the food on the table until around 1:30 to 2 a.m. Her English was pretty decent considering she was Thai. I'd say it was even better than the people at my hotel's front desk. After we finished our food, she once again asked me if I would like her to come to my room, to which again I said yes without a second thought. We got back to my hotel room, and the bedroom fun started all over again until we both finally fell asleep. What a great first night in the land of smiles for me. When I woke up, I noticed Mai was not in bed or on the sofa, so I started to panic. Am I not meant to pay to have female company, or was I just robbed? I quickly jumped out of bed and checked all my belongings and then onto my wallet. Everything was still there, nothing missing. I was lucky. This could have been a lot worse. If Mai was a bad apple, she could have easily stolen everything in my room and left me out to dry. Once I calmed down and gathered my thoughts on my first one-night stand in Thailand and how it was actually such a good night, I jumped into the shower to get ready for the day. It wasn't until I was getting dressed that I noticed a note on the bedside table. It was from Mai, asking me to meet her at her apartment at 8 p.m., followed by her address and phone number. I already realized that I had feelings for her after the first night, so I thought to myself that I did not want to get more involved with someone than I already had. So no, forget it. The start of the day was pretty chill, really. I headed to the pool and had a Western breakfast that the hotel cooked. Nothing special, so I decided to stick to Thai food from then on. Afternoon approached, and it was time for me to head out again. So, I did some walking around and found an open-air beer bar. Perfect. When I got in the bar, I was surrounded by cute Thai girls. It was like heaven on earth. However, most of them already seemed drunk and loud. Maybe a big spender was in the bar earlier, buying them drinks. I asked one of the quieter, sober ones if she'd like to join me for a drink at the table. She agreed, and off we went. She was nowhere near as cute as Mai, but she was still attractive and fun to spend time with. As I already said, I don't drink alcohol, so again I was on the soft drinks, but I was buying lady drinks for this new girl that she was getting through rather fast. We played some pool and laughed a lot, but all the while, I couldn't stop thinking about Mai. Every time I tried to push the thoughts of her aside, something about her would slip back into my mind. Her laugh, her smile, the way she ate so heartily. The new girl was nice, but she just didn't hold my attention the way Mai did. Eventually, as the afternoon wore on, I excused myself and decided to head back to the hotel to freshen up. While I was in the shower, I couldn't shake the feeling that I should see Mai again. She had left a lasting impression on me, one that I couldn't ignore. I looked at the note she left on the bedside table, and before I knew it, I was dialing her number. She picked up almost immediately, and I could hear the excitement in her voice when she realized it was me. "Hello, David. You come see me?" she asked. "Yes, I'd like that," I replied, surprising myself with how eager I sounded. We agreed to meet at her apartment at 8 p.m., as she had suggested in her note. I was looking forward to it more than I cared to admit. The hours seemed to drag until it was finally time to head out. I grabbed a taxi and gave the driver the address Mai had left me. It wasn't far from my hotel, just a short ride away. The driver dropped me off in front of a modest apartment building. I felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness as I climbed the stairs to her floor. Mai opened the door with a big smile and greeted me with a hug. She was wearing a simple dress, looking effortlessly beautiful. Her apartment was small but cozy, with Thai decorations and a faint smell of jasmine in the air. She had prepared some snacks and drinks for us. "I'm so happy you came," she said, leading me to the small living area. "I was worried you might not." "I'm glad I did," I replied, meaning it. We sat down and started talking again, just like we had the night before. This time, our conversation felt even more relaxed and genuine. She told me about her family, her dreams, and how she ended up working in Pattaya. I could tell that she was more than just a pretty face. She was intelligent, kind, and had a good heart. After a while, Mai asked if I wanted to watch a movie. I agreed, and she put on a Thai comedy. We laughed together at the silly jokes, and it felt incredibly natural to be there with her. At some point, our hands found each other, and we sat holding hands as we watched the movie. When the movie ended, it was late. Mai looked at me with those big, beautiful eyes and asked, "Do you want to stay here tonight?" I didn't hesitate this time. "Yes, I'd love to," I said. We went to her small bedroom, and it wasn't long before we were in each other's arms again. That night felt different from the first. It was more intimate, more meaningful. We fell asleep wrapped around each other, and for the first time in a long time, I felt truly content. Over the next few days, Mai and I spent almost all our time together. She showed me around Pattaya, taking me to her favorite places and introducing me to some of her friends. We explored markets, ate delicious street food, and even visited a nearby temple where she taught me a bit about Thai culture and Buddhism. It was a whirlwind romance, and every moment with her felt magical. As my holiday neared its end, I started to dread leaving. The thought of going back to my old life without Mai was unbearable. One evening, as we watched the sunset on the beach, I turned to her and said, "Mai, I don't want this to end. I want to be with you." She looked at me, her eyes filled with emotion. "I feel the same, David. But what can we do? You live so far away." "I don't know," I admitted. "But I can't imagine my life without you now. We'll find a way, Mai. We'll make it work." We talked for hours that night, making plans and discussing our future. I extended my stay by another week, and during that time, we visited the local authorities to see what steps we needed to take to get married. It was a complicated process, but we were determined to make it happen. Finally, on a beautiful sunny day, we stood before a small group of friends and local officials and exchanged our vows. Mai looked stunning in her traditional Thai dress, and I felt like the luckiest man alive. We celebrated with a simple but joyous reception, filled with laughter, music, and of course, delicious Thai food. After the wedding, we began the process of getting Mai a visa to come to my home country. It took several months and a lot of paperwork, but we finally succeeded. When Mai arrived, my family and friends welcomed her with open arms. They could see how happy she made me, and they quickly grew to love her as much as I did. Since then, Mai and I have built a wonderful life together. We've had our ups and downs, like any couple, but we've faced every challenge together. She brought a new light into my life, one that I never knew I needed. And every day, I thank my lucky stars for that chance meeting on the beach in Pattaya. So, to all those who doubt the sincerity of love found in unexpected places, I say this: sometimes, the most beautiful things come when you least expect them. You just have to be open to the possibility and brave enough to take the leap. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it inspires someone out there to take a chance on love, no matter where or how they find it.